paper. But anyway, the software is your basket of balls. So it's important that they get on it minimum 3 times a week, 30 minutes, and I'll show you some incentive programs that they can do it at home. How many of your students would do it at home for homework? Yeah, I would give them a grade, and here's what I'm going to do.
But we don't grade homework at the same time.
Well, whatever, incentive. But what I'm going to do is the students who go up 2 levels, which can happen, I will buy MT3 players for them. So you can do an award ceremony. There's also, I'll show you on the materials, a certificate of achievement where you set goals every month. And the principal can call them in because it's a psycho-emotional program too. You have children, and I looked at your tests, who are very low. It's not like people haven't tried to work with them. So we have to encourage them and really praise them. You'll see on the software it says great job and all of that to really get that intrinsic motivation. Because I would like an hour a week, 30 minutes of homework on the phonics and 30 minutes of homework on the max reading. Ideal. I'm just going from what I see around the country because we do analyze all of our data because to me that's important. And I have to tell you, I'm blown away by it. Kids who never bump up significantly when it's implemented well. So the Orton-Gillingham method is explicit, meaning it's not like Moby Max where you do a different letter every day. It's a set of phonemes and graphemes. Phonemes is sounds, graphemes is letters, starting with the short vowel. So 4 consonants and a short vowel. That's called explicit. And here you see on your kindergarten workbook that they do PFNTA, SRCKE, PGMLI. So they're learning and mastering these phonemes and being able to put them in words and non-words. Because the students that you have been memorizing their way through reading. So you got to break that habit with non-words where they can't think of their memory. So that's explicit. Systematic means when you master one, you go to the short E. And multisensory. It's visual, tactile, auditory, and kinesthetic. So it's every avenue to the brain is being hit. It's like an insurance policy. Most of the time we do only one modality, but in Orton-Gillingham we do all avenues to the brain, from the frontal lobe to the parietal lobe to the visual cortex, all the different areas. To the point that Sally Shaywitz, who's a neurologist at Yale, did studies of children who were struggling readers and their brains just did not work in the right places to get the right words. And after treatment like this, did it again and their brains were normal. So you need to know the brain has plasticity. They're always getting new neurons. So it's never too late. And the younger, the better. And the last 2 pieces is it's flexible. So I'm showing you all the steps, but they might get to a 3-part drill one day and maybe do the next part of the spelling dictation and the reading. It's flexible to the student's group. And it allows you to be flexible because the students who are getting the explicit teaching, if you need to really work one-on-one with someone who's very different, then you can put the others on the software. So they're practicing. And it's cumulative, meaning you'll see that you still go through the card drill, PFNTA, SRCKE, you're always reviewing. And if a student is poor in an area of fluency, you'll go back to the previous list too and introduce the new list. So everything is cumulative. The first part of the manual will tell you everything about the software. But we're going to do the explicit, meaning teacher-directed lesson, And you're going to turn to page 55.
Do you have an extra one?
This is the first step in an Orton-Gillingham lesson plan. It is a visual drill. And all day today we're going to be doing, and I do, you do. So you're going to open up your cards. And again, everybody has their way of training Orton-Gillingham. Like Anne went through Slingerland. It's a different approach for different people. I took the Gillingham approach, which has letter, picture, and sound, and you turn it 3 times. Why do we do the picture? Some children need that association to really get it, and we don't want to leave the hair unturned. The biggest problem you're going to have with your teachers is they're going to say pa, fa, na. Say goodbye to that. If you look on page 55, I have the sequence, and I even have the lip movements for you. So with P, they put their lips together. It's what we call popper sound. So look at page 55 as a resource and show this to your teachers. Because I am in schools all over the country, and I see that. And you know the problem with pa, fa, na, ta? They're not learning to decode. They're learning to memorize. Because it isn't ta, together. It's together. Okay. So I'm going to do it, and then you're going to do it. And this is how you're going to train the teachers to do with the students. Everybody ready? I'll do it first. P, panda.
P, panda.
Very good. So for your speech teachers, this is helpful too. N, nurse,
N, nurse,
Perfect. And we say short A. Why are short vowels so important? They must be stable. It is 57% of reading. So if you have a 5th grader or an 8th grader who can spell cut, but they can't spell result, it's like a foreign language, it's because they never learn U, up. They memorize cut because you can memorize 3 and 4 letter words, and that's kind of as far as you get, and then it's their own language. So let's say short A, apple, a.
short A, apple, a.
Good. Everybody open your mouth wide and say a. Okay. What drill is this called, everybody?
Visual drill.
Okay, and what does this mean? P, F, N, T, and A?
The letters.
It's what? Is it cumulative or explicit? Explicit. Visual drill, explicit. Take this, and you're going to put it in your OG phonics book, because these are lesson plans, and you'll put it under P. The next step is tactile and kinesthetic. So if you look in your manual on page 65, you will find the directions of forming the letters. Now, handwriting isn't taught much in schools anymore. I don't know if it's taught in this county. But research is showing that it does affect reading. Many children are going bottom to top, and some have reversals. And on the software, and when you teach it, you first use the large muscle movements. Why? It goes directly in the brain, and it's easier to learn a formation with large muscle movements than small. So everybody get up, take your pointing finger, and you as a teacher would have your back to your students, just like I do. And the first letter is P. And we're going to go, I'll demonstrate it first because you have to say it as you write it. Because if they go down, up, and around, and they're here, not in their kinesthetic memory. I'll do it first. Down, up, and around. P.
Down, up, and around. P.
Great. Okay. you might have to work with them a little bit. This will also be on the software, and they should do it while they're sitting too. Okay, the next step of the kinesthetic drill is tracing it in the sand or salt. This, again, goes to the kinesthetic memory of the brain. And then you'll see we write them on paper, too. So everybody, let's trace P in the salt and sand. Down, everybody down, up, and around. Your turn. Oh, I didn't hear you. Start again, everybody. 1, 2, 3.
Down, up, and around.
Great. Shake it. F. Half around, down, and across. Now.
Half around, down, and across. F.
Okay, so let's do N. Down, up, and hump.
Down, up, and hump. N.
Good. T. Down and across. T.
Down and across. T.
Okay. Short A, A. This is important because when you get to multisyllabic words and when we start coding it, they have to know short and long. Okay. So what drill is that, everybody?
Kinesthetic.
Very important that your teachers know the distinction and use. Then we go to the auditory drill. Before, you had the visual drill, where they did letter, picture, sound. Diana King feels this is the most important part because they have to hear it and write it. So you can do this two ways. You can do it in the sand to practice, and then you can do it in the workbook. So, write the letter that makes the sound T, as in taxi. So you can use your pictures to cheat, but you cannot use your letters. We want them to recognize the letters that they hear. And that is a precursor to spelling.
Write the letter that makes the sound as in taxi.
Okay. Down and across. Okay. Okay, everybody understand it? How many times will we do it?
Twice.
Okay, so when we get to SRCKE, you can do SRCKE twice or also do PFNTA. So, I mean, if you have a child that's getting it really quickly, you can go faster. If you have a child that needs more help, you have to review it. And then the computer doesn't get tired. They can do it 10, 20 times till they get it. So it's drill to mastery. So what is this called? You're dictating sound. So they learn the letter and sound, and then they hear the letter and sound. The next step is sound blending. So if they know how to recognize it visually, if they can write it properly, and if they can hear the letters, hear the sound and write the letters, then they're ready to do what we call sound blending. Now there's two ways to do, remember I'm flexible. So if you turn on page 67 in your manual, you can tap it. So I can say, sound out the word patch. And notice your chips are going to go A to M, N to Z. So I can do it first with my non-dominant hand, and I take my thumb to the finger, and then I scoop it or draw a line. Pat. Let's try it. Pat. Everybody understand that? Okay. Do net. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. But That is hearing the phonemic awareness of sounds and how many sounds are in a word. That's called phoneme awareness. Come with your Orton-Gillingham Phonics workbook too, of which you are going to turn to page 32. Alpha chips and sound tapping. And guard these because it's invaluable. The aha moment really comes with it. And you have page 32, and you're not in your manual, but in the workbook, the yellow one. They should know how to tap it. So I'll do the first one, and why do we do non-words as well as real words?
Because it
Forces them to look at the letters and sounds. And again, we're only doing words of the explicit PF and TA. Pat. Great. And it's really important that the children call it stretching the words when they go like that. Okay, now.
Nap.
Great.
At. Nat.
Okay, beautiful. Now let's say Billy says nap. Go back to your salt or your sand, okay? You're always intervening on this to make sure they get it, because until they get this, you really can't go on to fluency. And I've seen this done even on the rug. It's a rotational model. You only tap the digraph once and the blends twice, but FF at the end of the word, does it make one sound or two sounds? One. So that's why we only do one F, because we're working on sounds. Everybody understand that? So when you see tap in there, and on the dictation, I don't care if they spell it with the F, double F, or with not, because we haven't taught it, which is in spelling rules. This is called the three-part drill. The visual, and I do visual with tactile. On a lot of Orton, they just do the visual, but I want to make sure that they also have the writing formation. Then we do the auditory drill, write the letter that makes a sound, and they can do it in sand or on the sheet. And then we do sound blending. That's a three-part drill. You can do it with the chips, you can also do it with your cards. Whatever works for your students. Do the actual lesson plan up to sound blending with your chips. Because the workbook also adds a phonemic awareness part. But it is a true OG lesson, or you have to write out the lesson, which you will find in the manual, and Ann also gave it to you. And I have found that teachers don't want to really do that. You'll have to do it because you're getting certified. So you'll either send me one workbook done with student work, so you're doing it now, but then you need student work, or you'll actually do the lesson plans. If they don't get this foundational knowledge now, it's hard for teachers to go back unless they have a program like this and not everybody even knows about it. Because our goal is for kindergarten to learn all of this, and every student I'm going to want to see a filled-in book. That's your written OG lesson plan portfolio, which is a different avenue of the brain. Then for your certification, the students have to be on the software at least 80 hours during the year. Because I will be monitoring that, and we'll be having webinars where we'll look at it so you can intervene, because this is the only Orton program where you can see that they're doing everything, and the computer won't let them skip steps either. But they need the direct lesson first. And some use the direct lesson also using it on a smart board because it goes through all the steps as well. When you do the visual drill, you have to sit across from the student, not next to. You only do next to when you start with the sound blending and the fluency. We only do one letter at a time on the software and in the workbook. I showed you the whole explicit amount just so we could get through it, but I want you to see how we break it down. So that is the same process, both on their placement test. So you've got to watch it or they'll just punch anything and we won't get an accurate reading. The placement test tests recognition of the letter, recognition of the sound, phonemic awareness, and make sure they click on the microphones, and the directions for this are at the beginning of your manual on the software at the end, and make sure they look at every screen before they see the proper writing. So now we are going to go, we're going to assume they did the PFNT, and now you're going to go to the auditory drill on page 31. Yes?
I'm sorry, do I do all 5 of those letters in one day?
No, good question. Orton-Gillingham, you go as fast as you can or slow as you must.
Okay.
So some you can, but most, no.
Okay.
That's why we do it this way, both on this and on the software. The software will not let them go to the next letter until they get everything right. They'll direct them back to do it again. Because it takes, it could be 100 times or 5 times. Yes?
So, and then on the, when they are practicing forming the letters on the lines, we were obviously going quickly, but you would sit with them until they put at least 3 letters on each line, correct?
5 letters total.
Okay, so
5
just
letters.
total, they don't need to fill up each line?
Because you can go back to it then. If you need. Got it?
Later.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
don't do the auditory drill till they know the visual, tactile, kinesthetic. And then you go to the auditory drill, and then you go to the sound blending. And that is a 3-part drill.
Where you want the student to continue saying,
Not necessarily. Good, she asked, does the student have to say down, up, and around? At this point, they should be able to write it. But if they go down, if they go bottom to top, you're going to have your salt, they're going to trace it again. And you'll make a note in their workbook and point it out to them, because when you review it, you're going to see that they want to see. Yes. Always put a date in the workbook. I need to know what they did, and you do, on 9/15 versus 9/16, so you know that they're doing that direct lesson every day. So in a 3-part lesson, the visual kinesthetic is 1, the sound dictation is 2, and you can do it on paper too, you know, but I need to see the workbook. And now we're to the sound blending or tapping. You will make notes on the workbook because that is your visual portfolio on that child. On page 35 and 36, you can do fluency drills with less amounts of words for your slow readers, because you will find some can read 4 words a minute and some 54. So this is the purpose of getting the spontaneous reading. So you have lots of practice like that till you get to page 39. Page 39 is also on the software, the word list, but you have to, the Orton people would not let computer grade their words per minute. It has to be a teacher. So they can practice it with the computer reading the words with them and practice with the partner till they come to you. So this is called fluency, and fluency is extremely important. It's throughout the program. So if I read like this, I will never read. So we're always working fluency. So you're going to see this word list. We're going to time it. We'll do it together. You can also do it on a smartboard. And then we're going to chart it. So, and this will show you when we go on the reports, which is not till you get started, you put into the computer on your dashboard. Everything else is recorded. It'll be a check if they got 100%. So this is the Fluency, and you might not get to this for a while. Or you might get to it very quickly. I don't know. I mean, I'm hunching that some of your, this is a kindergarten goal, so I have a feeling some of your second and third graders will need to go back to this, because I see them spell dress as dress, and they've just never had it presented in this way. And if they're scoring ones, they need it this way. You do not stop them if they make a mistake. But on page 41, you're going to write on the bottom, everybody go to the word per minute timing sheet, and you'll see words read wrong. And we write them. Okay? And then we study them. They go home on cards. You do alpha chips. You do tracing. Those are their study words. 1 minute. Tell us when to begin. If she doesn't say a minute, you go back and read it again. Okay, stop. So we do math here. So let's count. 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 21. And we read it twice, so that's 42. And then we do 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. So everybody fill in their bar graph to 50 and fill it in. You'll put the date. You're going to circle on try 1 after the date. You're going to put PF, N, T, and A. And you all read them perfectly, but you know what to do when you read it wrong, and that's your little diagnostic record as well. This is very motivating, and sometimes schools make a bulletin board and put it on. We try to use a lot of motivation, and they can do it with their friend. Now, notice you have 5 times, but you can do it 20 times. They're in the materials page under phonics. You can print them out. It's also in your teacher manual. Spelling drill, we do SOS in Orton-Gillingham. So take out your workbook to page 42 and your teacher's manual. We covered 69 and 70. This is your Bible. My whole summer. And I think you'll find it very helpful. So now we're on the dictation of spelling. 73. So when you dictate the word pat. The student says it fat. Everybody, pat. And then the student should tap out the sound. At. And then I have them write it. Now, if it's an older child, they can tap it with their foot on the floor. They can pound it, but I like tapping. And then they write it. Then they spell it. Remember, you're not going to do all this in one day. You split it up. You might have one explicit instruction only on spelling or on fluency. This part is not on the software. It goes to the control reader. So you might, if you need to do it more than one time, you can have your OG notebook for them to do more, but dated. Before they go to the spelling drill, they usually do the sight words. And sight words are non-decodable words, and they are spelled, not sounded. So these are the explicit amount of sight words on page 43. You can give them 5 of them if the student doesn't need more practice on tapping and
Put
writing.
them in the spelling drill
Yes.
because you've been, okay.
Right, and let's look at who can find in your manual where it explains sight words. It's on page 78 in the teacher's manual. Your first sight word that we're going to write today is and. I do not sound it out. Sight words, you say the letters. Why? If you sounded out the, it would be the. And sight words are those words that connect a sentence to make it sense. So it is important, and I'll show you the whole sight word list that I want them to master. Okay, and. A, N, D, and I underline. So here, then they can take the paper, and they can also trace with their index finger, and. A-N-D, and. Because of the screen. Very cool, right? You didn't think of that, right? So, what is the purpose of the screen? Tactile kinesthetic. You're always multisensory, more than one avenue to the brain. Everybody wrote in, I-N, in. So that's how you would teach the explicit. And where were you? Okay, and that's one way using the screen. And then on the next page is arm tapping. Okay? A, everybody. N, D, and. Again. A, N, D, and. And that's Orton-Gillingham arm tapping. I give you all the ways Orton-Gillingham shows you to do this, and it's up to you. Okay. And then have the student turn over the page and write the word one time with the red crayon without all of this. So everybody turn your page and write and. If there's enough page, and depending on the student, I would have them either say a sentence with it or write a sentence with it. Okay, everybody understands sight words? Then you understand the spelling dictation, that we're also including sight words, or you can add 5. Whichever, and that's why you have to monitor. Then we're to the almost last part, is sentence dictation. And go to where it says the COP strategy. Page 76. Okay, so here you're going to write it. Remember, you're going to have an OG notebook like this. We didn't put in the workbook sentences because some children might not be ready for it. So that's up to you, but I'll see the sentence dictation here. So this part you do in the OG notebook with a date. 5 sentences is plenty. Some might not be ready for it. Then you have the last part, which is the controlled reader. It's on 44 in your workbook, and you can find it in the manual. Then on 81, I want you to see on page 76 the COP strategy, and so everybody knows that. Right. And the controlled reader, this is a controlled reader that will be in the workbook that they read. You can copy this to send it home. I would not send home the workbooks because you might not get it back. I would encourage them to do this on the software at home. So, in answer to the controlled reader, these are all the PFNTA words and the sight words that they learn. They won't all make sense. And that's the last step. So really, literally, with some kids who go fast, the next day on your explicit, you'll do spelling, tapping, sentence dictation, controlled reader, and next reading. You have 3,900 readers for them to integrate this into text. Because at the end of the day, you can't do phonics in isolation. And most programs are weak on the comprehension piece, which is the last piece.
Basically, when you're talking about the controlled readers, this teacher has to explicitly taught.
Teacher has to what?
Explicitly taught the uppercase for names.
Right.
So that's just something that, just to remind you teachers about that explicit teaching, because if they're looking at, Nat and Pat, it's not.
Yeah, if you look at the Orton-Gillingham lesson plan, the blank one that you have, you will see that the warm-ups is alphabet work. That means big, capital letters and small letters. You can see I have it in the manual on page 50 and page 51. These are warm-ups before the visual drill. And 51 is uppercase. So that's part of when you warm up before you go play tennis and stretch. You're always doing that, and you're doing it depending on what they need. So go to page 43, and thank you so much for bringing that up, of your teacher's manual for phonics. And before it says review prior letters and sounds taught, pre-lesson warm-up, alphabet recognition, and phonemic awareness. So you're working on uppercase and lowercase, but we're not going to put it into a 9-step drill. So after the uppercase on 51, these are all warm-ups. We do rhyming. And the thumbs up or index finger up means it rhymes, down it doesn't. So I've given you rhyming games on page 52, but you can add to it. If you go to 53, 53 is phonemic substitution and manipulating sounds. You'd be surprised how children have trouble with that. It's interesting. Tomorrow I'll show you how to do phonemic awareness visually with crayons. But I find in the schools a lot of the children auditorily have a hard time with this. So do spend time on that. Okay, let's just do another one. I put on page 54 manipulating beginning sounds, manipulation of ending sounds, and medial sounds. So let's do manipulating ending sounds since we did beginning sounds. The word is mat, everybody.
Mat.
Change the t to a p.
Mat.
What's a new word?
Mat.
Oh, you're too smart. Okay, let's do medial sounds. The word is soy.
Soy.
Change the O sound to an A sound. What do I get? Say. This is back. Change the A sound to an F sound. What word do I get? So you're testing vowels here. Okay, so this goes in the warm-up. There's no race, and you don't have to do all 9 steps or all the 3-step drill in the beginning if they're not ready for it. You want them to feel successful, and you want your teachers to group kids that can move along faster, slower, and then ones that need a lot of help.
So my question is then, thinking about what teachers are going to be asking, how do we kind of get to the teachers in terms of, when can they start, doing these steps? They're not going to start with a kindergartner with all of these steps in the lesson plan if the kids don't even know the letters.
Right. If the kids don't know their letters, they've got to spend more time on the letters and on the computer. Because you're going to see after lunch, you're going to turn on your computers and log in, and part of your training and your certification, which I'll show you, is for you to send me screenshots of PFNTA, of SRCKE, so you see how they blend in the words, and then we're going to go into blends tomorrow and digraphs. So you're going to do that whole PFNTA, And I'm going to show you how to go to the comprehension piece.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of frustrating our kindergarten teachers when their kids don't know the letters. So, and then you're giving them this.
You will get on the placement test the letters they don't know.
Right, and that's the one.
And that's what they'll work on.
And would you suggest?
But they should all start at the beginning on the software. Because if they get it right away, they go right to the next sequence. If they don't, it'll do it 100 times till they get it. So that's very, very, very important.
It's been a while.
But when you go through the workbook, you will try to, get them to do the PFNT&A, but not all in one day. And you can, you have the ability to copy. Let's say if you need them to do it more than once or twice or 3 times.
So if they're just learning those letters and those sounds before they're blending or anything like that, would you suggest doing just the visual, the tactile, and then maybe the sound
Auditory.
dictation just a few times, those over and over until they
Over and over.
don't move to the blending or anything like that until
That's a very good point. Don't move to the blending until they can recognize the letter and write the sound
So that's
and write it correctly.
And
Then you can go to blending.
give the teachers permission not to rush through. They say this is a, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So they have to train, basically, to do these things. So in first grade, it might be a little bit different, even if they're in this level. But for kindergarten, make sure your kindergarten teachers understand that this is a process. And if the kids really don't even know the letters, they can't be doing it.
If they finish this workbook with 100% mastery and read their word list at least 2 times, that's what my goal is, they're going to get a great phonological foundation. Because then blends and digraphs will come easy, and then they can go to spelling rules and syllabication. And don't forget, they're going to also be putting it, I'll show you the comprehension is different for beginning readers versus ones that are already reading a little bit. Any other questions?
And just one thing before we go on and go to your question. So remember, this is what you're doing in your small group with those struggling kids who are in the program. You're still going to have your whole group instruction that you're going to be reinforcing these letters and so on. Doesn't mean that teachers can't use some of these strategies, just like we taught them last year. But, this is going to be your small group.
With kindergarten teachers, and I know a lot of teachers do letter of the day, whatever. So here we have our level 1. So all our other students that know their letters and sounds, they should be really step 4. Our kids are ready to start blending and making those words.
But is this for the whole class?
No, but I'm just saying, a lot of our teachers do a letter of the day, and that's not.
I would have to follow this, truthfully.
Right.
I think that, what you're going to find, what you're doing with this K-3 implementation, and because of my work with the Harvard people, I'm a scientist at Harvard. We have found in districts that do K-3, and especially ones that start with preschool, the amount of tiers and amount of special ed diminishes by 80 to 90%. It's pretty significant. And Everyone Reading, which is a branch of the International Dyslexia Society in New York, where they've actually chosen our method of Orton-Gillingham to train. We have a training the 29th and the 2nd. And they think that a lot of it is dysphagia. Because now everybody's dyslexic. There were never so many, and with the dyslexia law that's coming to Florida, you're going to get slammed with it. But they just never really have been taught in this manner. So we're being preventative if you talk to your regular teachers, but then if they're going to need the tools, they would need the software. They might not need the workbook, so they could go ahead.
And they won't have the software, but they can still use the strategies.
Yes, that's what I was.
The strategies,
They
right.
were using them last year,
Right.
hopefully. We did a lot of this last year. This just puts it into a program.
Okay?
Well, and you know, it might be a conversation to have with our teachers, kindergarten especially. Here's the sequence of
Right.
letters that are included that you're going to be doing with your small group, the level ones and whatnot. They may choose to teach those in that same order in their classroom to everyone.
Then
It's
they're
a little
getting,
less-
they're getting, you
Oh,
can
okay.
do
No
that.
longer, we need to nix the letter of the day.
Well-
You can do the 3-part, you got a next letter of the day.
Yes.
It really
It does, and
doesn't work.
we even said.
But you could do that 3-part drill, and if it'll help, I'll show you a video with the whole class. You're just segmenting these kids to give them extra more, but the more they get it, the better. And when you come back, I'd like to take the next period of time for you to go through the software and see how it's reinforced, because kids love devices, and see in your mind how one is teaching directly and one is practicing to be an independent, fluent learner and automatic, and it will allow them to go at their own pace.